What's up everyone, I kinda just wanted to make this video to shine a light on and give some of my ideas about a game called Planet Coaster. Now Planet Coaster is a new game that's been revealed on E3 by Frontier, and this thing actually has a very tiny history that I kinda just wanted to talk about before I get into the main stuff. Basically, a while ago now, which was actually around the time that everybody was very disappointed with Atari and their Roller Coaster Tycoon World and they didn't restart it yet, Frontier posted something on their Facebook where they said, we are actually going to make a game now, and it's going to be called Coaster Park Tycoon. And about 1,000 people liked the Facebook page, which is really not that much. After a while, it just kind of died down, but this weekend at E3, they released a trailer for it. Now, the first half of the video is not really too interesting, though it does have pretty good animation. It is not what the actual game is going to look like, obviously. But as we get into the part where things start falling down from the sky, and we get the actual in-game parts and the things we kind of recognize from the earlier Roller Coaster Tycoon games as these straight paths, it actually builds up what is most likely going to be the way that the game is actually going to look as you build your parks. Honestly, my first reaction to this was, okay, this must still be some kind of animation. Like, as soon as you see something like this, you need to check what is actually going to be in the game and what is going to be just animation novelties that they want to have in the trailer. But all this is actually going to be the way that the game is going to look. That is, without the animation that you've seen at the start of this video. And this is why this trailer is actually not the interesting points, and I was quite surprised by this, but really going to their website is the thing that really sold me when it comes to being hyped about this game coming out. Now, as you go to the website, the first thing you see is just a roller coaster track like this with the logo on it, and where you can pre-order it and get a trailer of it. Now, one thing that struck me about this was that the lighting is so much better than on the earlier Roller Coaster Tycoon games and on Roller Coaster Tycoon World. There's just great detail on the foliage, the grass looks great, especially when compared to the earlier games, and the track actually has B&M connectors. Now, one thing that I'm not too happy about though is if you look at the track, it doesn't look like a B&M track. This is supposed to be the B&M track. You can see the B&M sit-down cars on it, but it's just that the spine is way too small actually. One thing that I do really like about it is having those B&M connectors and having actually really realistic supports, because my god, do those supports look great. So I'm just kind of mixed about this. It looks great, it's got great shadows, and just the look of this entire game is just very pleasing altogether. But in terms of track realism, it's not really the best thing ever, but I suppose that's really a nitpick when it comes to how good this thing looks overall. Now, there's a bit of an introduction over here which you can all just read for yourselves, but one thing that I do like to note about this is that they're saying a connected global village where you can share your creativity with the world. So there is going to be some kind of online way that you can share your parks and do things with other people, which is really great. And there's actually some more information about this on the site at some points, so I'll get to that soon. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because over here you can see the actual 3D models that they are using in the game, which is just amazing, and it allows us to just take a close look at this and see what we think of it. Now, the first thing I noticed about this is that there's an amazing level of detail on the cars, and the textures just go quite well with that, so I really have no complaints about that. One of the things which I was kind of not so happy to see at first was the fact that the guests, like in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, just have buttons for eyes and no actual eyes, but I think it's actually not that bad, since they actually do portray some sort of emotion, which was really lacking in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. One thing that we can see over here is that this is obviously a B&M track with a box spine, but it's really too small of a box, and the connectors to the rails still stick out on the sides and at the top, and it isn't really entirely a correct B&M track, and that still sort of nags me. And then there's another little flat ride that they're showing off over here. Not really too much to say about this one. It's a bit of a niche theme. I don't see this fitting in too many parks too well. It's not something generic that you can just place anywhere, but when it comes to the model, it just looks fine. There's a couple of textures that have some slight differences in how great they look. Like the side just has a very low resolution, especially compared to, for example, the arms in the middle, but overall I think this looks like a really great ride. And then last but not least, we have the guests, and they're called characters over here. I don't know if that's anything good, but to be very honest, I wasn't really happy about the way that the guests were called peeps in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, so this might not be that way in this game. I don't know about that. In any case, they do look really good, despite having their limitations, and this little dinosaur thing is just amazing. It is quite cool to see that, you know, they're not going with the old mascots and have come up with a new one that actually looks quite cute. And I suppose this is just a bit of this is just my opinion, but I just like the way that this thing looks. This is little teeth and his little button eyes. It's just cute. Now down here are some in-game pictures, but these are basically screenshots from the video. Not really too much interesting things going on, but you can zoom in on the small things and note some things about it. Now one of the things that struck me about this picture is seeing that arrow / Vekoma rail on the side as a sort of decoration, because obviously it doesn't fit into these blocks over here. These aren't tunnels, but just footers, and the car isn't really too much of a realistic car. It's really just a decoration, but it looks good in its own right. And we actually do get some arrow or Vekoma coaster types in this game, because as you can see in the background, there are some of those roller coasters. There is a Revolution and a Drop Tower. And one thing that I am not too happy about though is the fact that I see some stalls, and just the same themed stalls that we've had in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, 2 and 3. Now even though these are really good when it comes to the game simulation and the money aspect of the game, it isn't really the most realistic theme. And one thing that we've always been missing in the entire series to make it more realistic is to have actual restaurants where people can sit and actually eat in peace and not while they're walking around the park. But other than that, I actually think this is my favorite screenshot. The second one is our little trailer mascot running away from the little dinosaur. They're both looking very cute though. I really have to say that they do go for the very unrealistic cartoon style guests, but I'm actually quite happy about that because they just look good and they look quite cute. I still find this dinosaur thing way too adorable, so it's actually quite a funny picture, even if it doesn't reveal too much. What I would like to note though, by the way, is that litter bin in the corner right there. That is a thing of beauty. That is the type of litter bin we've always should have had in these games. The support work in the background worries me a tiny bit though, because I don't see any footers. The coaster is extremely under-supported, and the supports in general have unrealistic flanges and no connectors to speak of, at least by the looks of it, so I don't really know what to think about that. Other thing that I can note about it is that little hedge behind the path looks quite good, and the trees are quite good as well. Now here's another picture from the trailer. I don't think the game is actually going to look like this. I found it quite funny how it had that roller coaster track in the clouds. That was just a nice little touch. Now there's not really anything new in this screenshot. The only thing that we really have a good look at is some more path props. So we see the curbs on the side of the paths, which look really good, and there are actually some cornerstones. Now I don't know exactly if these will be based on the placement of the paths, because telling by the fact that the path is wider near the camera than it is farther away from it, these curb cornerstones actually going to appear whenever you're going to have a corner, to make sure that the curbs are going to be smooth and don't have any edges that stick out or go into each other. So that's actually a very nice little detail. The bench is just a bit of a simple thing really. The lights though, I like the lights. I like them quite a bit. And there's a hamburger stall called Chief Beef, so Frontier really hasn't lost their touch for cheesy names yet. And this picture just wants to kill me with more adorable dinosaurness. I might get this game just to get this dinosaur. Like, this dinosaur is mine. Now here's another picture which looks like it came from a Pixar movie but doesn't actually reveal too much about the game. And this, I think, is the most important picture when it comes to how the game is actually going to look and what we can expect, because this looks amazing, and there's a number of things that we can prove when it comes to this. For example, we're finally probably not going to have paths anymore that are restricted to just the grids, and we can finally have some curves. Perhaps, I don't know if we'll actually be able to get some curves, because the curves that I do see over here are around the flat right, but this does appear to be just the way the path is, and some diagonals, and not just diagonals in any way, but it seems to be in a very free way that you can place them, which is probably, judging by the fact that these corners appear in every once in a while on a linear line, we can probably place the paths using a line tool, which is absolutely amazing when it comes to building theme parks, because that means that there is so much more flexibility when it comes to building parks. There's a blue fence with lampposts around the Teacups ride, and that actually continues for the queue, so that's probably going to be the new type of ride fence that we're going to have. We can see one in the bottom left corner where we have a more white fence for the Revolution ride, and then for the Drop Tower there's no fence at all around that. At least it seems to be that way, so that's probably placed on a platform. Maybe in some way it's going to have a different queue, but basically we can probably, but judging by this, the entrance and queues are probably going to stay just about the same, because we can see an entrance built building for the teacups, which actually fits the teacups right, which is a very amazing touch right there, and as well as an exit little path for the teacups, which also has its little teacup or a coffee cup, whatever. No, this looks like a teacup. I shouldn't talk about that. The Revolution also has a very clear entrance and exit, so I don't know if we'll actually be able to get some of the more realistic queues that you have sometimes in theme parks, which don't really follow this grid way and don't have an entrance and exit like that. But still, it is something that's been within the RCT series for so long, and just to see those little cute entrances back that, you know, I've always loved the entrances from the first game, and just to see something which I like just as much is really awesome to see. Of course, there's the water too, which I can't really complain too much about, but I don't see any reflection on the water. It just looks okay, nothing really too special to see over there. Now, beside the peeps and the model for the chairs on the flat right, which are absolutely amazing, though I do see that restraint going through the legs of the guest right there, which is something that happened in RCT3, and I was hoping that wouldn't happen in this game. But other than that, it looks really good, and the peeps actually show some emotion. They don't look like emotionless dolls, husks without a soul, in like in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, and I just kind of like them. Despite the button faces, they don't really look too scary. They look kind of cute, so I think it's okay. Now in the store, they have a number of little cash grabs right there, and it's like, as soon as I saw this, I was like, no, fuck off. What do you think I am? But there's actually some things that, you know, are actually kind of cool in this. You can pre-order the game for just £20, which is about $31 and about 28 euros, which is really not that much, and then you'll be able to get it as soon as it comes out, which is really nice. You can get an early bird beta pass for £50, which is a lot of money. That's like $75, and that is just £30 more expensive than the original, which will give you access to the beta version as soon as the beta comes out. But I really can't say too much about this other than that it's a lot more expensive than the real game, and since we don't really know yet when the beta version is going to come out or not, I'll just wait this one out until there are actually some dates. But it is pretty cool that they're giving out this thing before it actually gets released to the public, to those who want to play it before it is fully released. Now here's when it gets great. For £10 you can buy a ticket which you can use to create your own guest. So a guest creator, as we had in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, is probably going to be in the game. You can give it your own name, and a guest that will probably resemble you or whoever you want to resemble is going to be able to walk into other people's parks, and it'll appear in all your parks, but maybe not in all of the other parks, since there will be maybe many guests that, you know, can roam around named after various people. But it's still a really cool thing to have, and it once again proves that there might actually be some internet connection between the parks. For £25 you can join the Coaster Head Club, which gives you access into the private forums, and I find that a bit of a sellout thing in a way, that you could just have access to this one forum if you've paid this much money. But one thing that is really cool about this, and actually does make it really worth it probably, is that you get a one-off t-shirt and a wristband, so that's actually quite cool. For £40 you can get a group ticket, which is just very similar to the single ticket, except you can join a group and make that group after whoever you want it, and you can enter other people's parks as well as your own parks with that group, which is just quite cool. That one hand of that one guy on the shoulder of that woman is a bit scary though. Also, I feel bad for Kim Jong-un in the back right there, that poor little fella. Now for £100, which is a lot of money, but this is still pretty cool, you can be a staff member in other people's parks as well as your own parks, and that is actually pretty cool. So you'll be the kind of person that'll be standing in these stalls, but instead of getting paid money, you have to pay money for it. But it does look really cool, and other people will be able to see your avatar in their little shops that they open, so that's really cool. Now last but not least, for £500, which is a staggering amount of money, but this is quite cool, you can have a foundation stone in the entrance building, and this means that your name will be engraved in the entrance buildings of all the people around the world, which is quite cool. Now beside the fun this is though, it does make me wonder whether that's just going to be one entrance building, which really seems lacking considering the fact that the earlier RCT games had so many different entrances entrance buildings. Now this, as with the other extra things that you can buy, is going to be checked by Frontier, so there is no naming your guests really terrible things or stuff like that. Not that I really expected anybody to pay £500 just to troll the internet, but you never know what kind of stupid people you'll have. So that about wraps it up for this video. I think it's really awesome to finally see such a game that actually seems very promising after the debacles that we had with RCT World and RCT4 Mobile and other things, and this really seems like it may be a very worthy successor to Rollercoaster Tycoon 3. The highlights are definitely the fact that we're probably not going to be stuck to the grid as much. The game looks great. The peeps, I mean, I keep saying the peeps, the guests for what they are worth do look quite nice, and the 3D models that we can see are quite good. Some of the downsides may be the fact that the supporting system isn't really perfect, but these things might all just be works in progress, and there's a lot of things that we don't really know, like whether that's actually going to be abilities for customization in the game, like custom scenery, which really helped Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 become what it is, and even Rollercoaster Tycoon 2 is still active because of this reason. And the clouds. The clouds don't really look too great, to be very honest. I'm not a big fan of the clouds, but the cute dinosaur kind of makes up for it, so I'm okay with that, I suppose. So in my opinion, this is just amazing, and I'm definitely going to hop aboard the hype train that is currently just ramming through the RCT community, and just no breaks, and let's just see where this takes us, because so far this is very promising. That being said though, I am definitely going to still be on the lookout for RCT World and Parkitect. I am really looking forward to those things as well. So that about sums it up for this little update random video that I just wanted to kind of get out there. Thanks for watching, and I might see you guys later. Auf Wiedersehen.